Inside the morgue, Dr. Daniela Upton visits to inspect an unseen body, which is said to be unrecognizable after its untimely brutal end. The mortician comments that despite their outside appearance, they all look the same inside and proceeds to continue his work. After going back to the psych ward, Daniela goes to talk with the culprit, Dr. Elizabeth Derby, a former colleague and her friend. Elizabeth or Beth asks Danny if they destroyed the brain of the corpse, and begs her to do so if they haven't done it. Danny tries to calm Beth, and asks her to tell the full story behind the incident. Beth complies and recounts her story, which begins with what she thought is an ideal life with her husband Eddie, a good practice, and never being troubled by her patients. One day, after a session with a patient, a young man who introduces himself as Asa Waite arrives at her office and asks to talk to her. Initially, Beth is reluctant to talk to him, as Asa has not set a prior appointment. When he explains that he has been having an out-of-body experience, Beth deduces that it might be a symptom of schizophrenia and invites him inside her office. Asa trembles as he tells her that he believes his father is occasionally occupying his body, and he is afraid that it will do so again. The session is interrupted when Asa's phone rings, and when he answers, he is hysterical when he learns that it is his father. Suddenly, something is triggered within Asa, and he appears to have a seizure before acting as if nothing happened. Beth immediately notices the changes in his behavior, and is troubled by this development, especially when Asa grabs her. After he leaves, Beth cannot keep her mind off the case for the first time in her long career, and tries to find an explanation for Asa's behavior. Later, Beth breaks her most sacred rule and brings her work into her home. Eddie listens to her, even though he's slightly annoyed when Beth won't stop talking about it. As they get intimate, Beth is still thinking about the young man, as she cannot help but imagine him in Eddie's place above her. The next day, even though home visits are off the charts, Beth feels compelled to visit Asa at his house. She is too intrigued to find out the truth, and upon entering the dimly lit home, she finds it strange that every possible light source is covered with newspaper. Beth finds Asa's father behind a desk sleeping, and learns that he suffered from a heart condition and relies heavily on his pills. After the old man gets his bearings, he starts to mock Beth, which sounds like Asa after he woke from a seizure. She notices a strange book with some kind of creature and symbol on it, but when she asks about it, Ephraim tells her that it's none of her business. He then takes a large knife from the drawer, and when Beth tries to help with his coughing fit, he slices her hand and sends her away. Beth tries to go back to her normal routine and focus on her work, but she feels like something is always nagging in her brain. In the middle of her session with a client, Asa interrupts and begs her to help him. Being a psychiatrist, Beth still cannot believe that Asa's problem was some kind of spirit possession, so she suggests calling the police to seek help. Asa insists that his father is stealing his life, so Beth promises to help and asks him to wait for her. Beth goes back inside her office to dismiss her current patient, but when she checks on Asa, the young man is gone. At night, Beth receives a call from Asa, who hysterically asks for her help. Beth immediately drives to Asa's house, and finds Ephraim lying on the floor. When she tries to help him, Asa shows up and tells her to stop as she should help him and not his father. Asa grabs the large knife from the table, but Beth is able to dissuade him to not hurt his father. She is unable to make sense of anything that Asa says, and when she checks Ephraim, she declares him dead as he's not breathing anymore. Unfortunately, it's not enough for Asa, because he believes that he needs to destroy his brain to make sure that he stays dead. She tries to convince him that it's over, but Asa is overwrought and tells her that Ephraim's power doesn't end in death. He adds that it's his second time already, and begs her to help him cut his head off. Suddenly, Ephraim wakes, which terrifies Beth, and when Asa tries to attack him, the old man chokes Asa and chants the spell that causes his son to have another seizure. After he recovers, Asa turns into a confident man just like when Beth had witnessed the first time. Beth approaches Asa and asks if he remembers what just happened, but the man responds in a cocky fashion. He entices Beth to get frisky with him, and Beth cannot resist even though it violates their doctor-patient relationship. For a moment, they indulge themselves while ignoring the unconscious body of an old man beside them, and in the peak of their passion, Ephraim's spirit on Asa's body has moved into Beth. For the first time, Beth has an out-of-body experience, as her spirit goes into Asa's body. Not long after, both of them have another seizure, which brings Beth's spirit back into her body. As Beth tries to make sense of the entire situation, she finally realizes that the real Asa is in Ephraim's body, while the old man's mind is on Asa. Asa in Ephraim's body begs Beth to help him, but the evil spirit in Asa stabs the old man to finish off the real Asa. As Ephraim destroys its brain, Beth is extremely terrified and runs for her life. The next day, the police visit Beth's house to return her phone, as they found it at Asa's house. She learns that the house had caught fire, and the police add that according to Asa's account, his father had disappeared a few days ago. Beth figures that Ephraim must have dealt with his old body before the firefighters arrived. After the police leave, Eddie expresses his concern for his wife, and with a guilty conscience, Beth confesses that she slept with her patient. Because of this, Beth and Eddie decide to spend some time away from each other, while Beth tries to regain control of her life. After some time, Beth decides to reconcile with Eddie, and while getting ready to welcome her husband, Beth receives a call from Asa. On the other hand, Asa handcuffed himself to a pipe before calling Beth, to make sure that when they swap their minds, Beth will not be able to escape. As Asa chants the spell, Beth's mind goes to Asa's body, while the wicked spirit takes over Beth's. In the basement, Beth in Asa's body notices the octopus carcass on the floor, along with a drawing of a demon octopus on the wall. She figures that it must have been used on some kind of ritual, and when she finds a phone on the floor, she immediately calls Danny to ask for her help. Back at her house, Eddie is surprised to see the more daring part of his wife, and he plays along with her desire. Danny is able to find the basement where Asa is being kept, and he begs her to save Eddie. Beth inside Asa tries to explain her situation, but like her, Danny is unable to make sense of what he's been telling her. Asa immediately calls the emergency service to report a domestic disturbance, but as the police investigate, Beth and Asa swap their bodies once again. Like Beth, Danny is mystified by Asa's sudden change of personality, and Asa implies that everything is some kind of role-play between him and Beth. Meanwhile, when Beth learns of what Asa did while inside her body, she tries to send Eddie away for his safety. She contemplates jumping out of the window of her clinic, but Asa shows up and stops her. The two of them are now connected by mind, meaning that Asa knows everything that she's been planning. When she asks him who he really is, Asa answers that he's been around for a long time and he doesn't even remember his original body. He believes that he was born a man, but expresses his desire to experiment with Beth's body as he enjoyed his time as her. Asa taunts her by practically handing her a knife, and challenges her to finish him off. She grabs the knife and when he gets distracted by the light, she takes her chance to stab him. Unfortunately, Asa is unaffected, and the two fight while the man is trying to chant the spell. Before he can finish chanting, Beth is able to push him out of the window, rendering him unconscious. Beth quickly ran downstairs, and when she noticed that Asa was still alive, she entered her car and ran him over. After a few moments, she musters her courage to check if he has perished, but when Asa still moves, Beth repeatedly stabs him until the police arrive. Back in the present, she tries to make Danny believe her, but as a woman of science, Beth's story sounds inconceivable. Inside the morgue, Asa wakes in the middle of the autopsy, and is able to chant the spell that will take his spirit inside Beth. Inside the battered body of Asa, Beth crawls to the hallway, which causes panic to spread across the hospital. Once again, Danny witnesses the changes in Beth's demeanor, and she starts to believe that Beth's story has some credit in it. Before she can ask further questions, the security interrupts and shows her to Asa. She now believes that Beth is inside Asa, but the young man's body perishes before her eyes. Danny confronts the evil spirit inside Beth, but the spirit fights her and is able to draw some blood. Afterward, the spirit chants his spell and transfers his mind inside Danny's. When the security arrives, Danny inside Beth gets a hold of his weapon and threatens the spirit. When she notices that Asa's body is still alive, her resolve strengthens, and shoots it in the head to end her friend's suffering. She threatens to shoot the spirit inside her real body, but before she can fire, they both convulse and swap their bodies once again. After the spirit is back at Beth's, it shoots the guard and tries to shoot Danny as well. Luckily, the weapon runs out of bullets, and the two of them fight until the attendant stops them. Sometime later, Danny is trying to comfort Eddie and explains how Beth's work and life balance has hampered her sanity. After Eddie leaves, the spirit stops pretending, which shows that it was able to enter Danny's body, while the real Danny is trapped inside Beth's. Danny in Beth's body is in a locked room in the psychiatric ward, and with no one to believe her story, she starts to lose her mind. Subscribe to watch more videos like this. You can also hit the notification bell and like the video to help the channel out. Thank you.